If you held Bush accountable for Katrina and thought Rudy Giuliani was an idiot for putting the command center in the World Trade Center, which is the place they attacked for and were most likely to attack again, which he was, well, then you have to have some intellectual honesty and criticize your team.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? We have Mr. Bill Maher, and he is going to be slamming L.A. County, not only for their response to the fires, but also what will be their response to the rebuilding of L.A. I have to say, it's nice to have the left taking themselves to task for once, but then again, it is mainly because most of these people, Bill Maher and all of them, live in LA County, so they are being directly affected by it. So understand, when a leftist is directly affected by something, they will wail louder than anyone else, okay? If they're not affected by it, then they will play politics as normal. Okay, so why don't we get into this as Bill Maher slams the LA fire response as fire trucks remain unused.
Karen Bass is taking a lot of heat. So is Gavin Newsom, but there's going to be a recall on Karen Bass. We will see what happens. But a lot of people think she failed in terms of leadership and, you know, where budget cuts may have affected the fire department. And there are other people who are saying, how dare you even talk about that in the middle of the fire? So where do you stand?
Well, we all took a lot of heat. I'm with the people who want to hold politicians accountable. You know, we shouldn't talk about it now. It's so funny to hear that coming out of the mouths of liberals, because they hate it when conservatives say that after a gun tragedy, which is what conservatives always say after a mass shooting. This is not the time to politicize it, and then it never is. It is absolutely the time to talk about it. This is what my editorial is about Friday night on the show. Was it always going to be bad? Of course. Their arguments are not wrong. We built the city in a terrible place to build a city. Global warming absolutely does make hot stuff and weather worse.
Oh God, he had to go right for global warming, but then again, he is a leftist. Hey guys, I really want to hit 500 by the end of January. If you could please help me out with that, hit that subscribe button. If this is the first time you've been here, that's great. If not, and you one of those people that come by all the time and watch, but don't hit the subscribe button, hey look, it's okay. I used to do the same thing, all right? But hey, how about this, okay? Do better. Be better than me. Hit the subscribe button. Thanks, guys.
Winds were ridiculous. Yeah, I get all that. And they also made a lot of errors. And if you held Bush accountable for Katrina and thought Rudy Giuliani was an idiot for putting the command center in the World Trade Center, which is the place they attacked for and were most likely to attack again, which he was, well, then you have to have some intellectual honesty and criticize your team when they don't do it right. And they've had a long time to get this righter. It was always going to be bad. All of these were always going to be bad, and they always seem to be the worst they ever possibly could be. So, no, I think we should demand better.
You know I watch your show every Friday night when you're on. And I followed your journey trying to get the necessary permits to take down a shed in your backyard over a period of, I believe, more than a year. And
no, that's what I had to build. I was trying
building
to get
the shed.
Solar. This is for your solar.
The solar.
Yeah.
Trying to get the solar hooked up, which, by the way, is what the state wants you to do.
That is one of the things. California is so overregulated, it's not even funny. From what I understand, getting anything built out there is an absolute and utter chore. It's more like the 8 labors of Hercules. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens when LA does actually start to rebuild. But Bill Maher is going to get into that.
Took you a year and going on television every week shaming the state to build a shed for solar.
Just to get solar panels.
When you look at the red tape with the Coastal Commission, with building and safety, with all of the rigmarole you have to go through to build a house, and especially after hillsides may be compromised and whatnot, and you look at the scope of this, how optimistic are you that that could change enough so that LA can rebuild?
I always think there's a middle of the road, actual practical solution to everything. And for this, I would say, um, was California's uber progressive politics the cause of this fire? Of course not.
That's an absolute and utter lie. Okay, California's uber progressive politics were, of course, the cause to a lot of this. Okay, if it not necessarily the cause, it exacerbated it to the extent that the fires did already. And then, and I'll go into it a little bit after this. Okay, as to what might have been the cause of all that. But we have heard time and time again of the mismanagement. Okay, of the L.A. Fire Department, or the fire, the L.A. County Fire Department, for that matter.
Did it impede them to some degree? Absolutely. That's the margin of error I'm saying we can't abide by anymore. Now, as far as the red tape, I see that they're all, Newsom, Bass, they're all saying, we're going to cut red tape, as if they're doing us a favor. My question is, well, if you can do it now, why don't you always do it? Obviously, it can be done. It's not a favor to us to cut the red tape. Why do we live in this state, in this red tape nightmare, the other times of the year when we're not on fire?
Now, here's a piece from Fox Business, and this is going to go into a lot of what happened beforehand that led us up to basically the fires, basically what we're into right now.
Many of our rigs that are sitting at our supply and maintenance because we don't have the resources to fix them.
That's LA's fire chief last year begging for more mechanics. Why? When the Palisades fire broke out, every available firefighter showed up, yet many had no pumper truck, engine, or vehicle to use.
We have $1 million rigs sitting at the yard with no mechanics to fix them.
Many are here, the maintenance yard, where up to 1 in 6 LA fire trucks are broken down, unavailable because the department has no money to fix them.
There's been a 55% overall increase for calls for service.
Compared to other major cities, LAFD is grossly understaffed, far below recommended levels.
We have fewer sworn firefighters today than we had in 2010.
A huge drain on fire resources, the homeless. Last year, LAFD responded to 14,000 fires and 52,000 medical calls.
If we cut one position, if we close one station, if we close one resource, the residents of Los Angeles are going to pay the ultimate sacrifice, and someone will die.
While next year's budget calls for more mechanics and replacement vehicles, the department wants another $5 million for EV charging stations and almost $2 million for a diversity and inclusion plan.
And we are at that breaking point where our firefighters can no longer do more with less.
And while LA County is finding money for DEI programs and diversity training, they have basically what that past little spot had to say. This is a little film clip by Film the Police LA, and this is what that parking lot looked like, full of trucks not being used. And while LA is burning, while properties are being destroyed, while people are dying, we have good old Governor Gavin Newsom doing his best to put himself in front of the TV and to pass the blame to anyone but himself.
Firefighter on this block, they left because there was no water in the hydrant here.
The local folks are trying to figure that out. I mean, just when you have a system that's not dissimilar to what we've seen in other extraordinarily large-scale fires, whether it be pipe, electricity, or whether it just be the complete overwhelm of the system. I mean, those hydrants are typical for 2 or 3 fires, maybe 1 fire. You have something at this scale, but again, that's going to be determined by the local.
And so there you have it, folks. This is Gavin Newsom and the mayor of LA basically doing their absolute and utter best to try to either pass the buck, pass the blame, or hide and take cover. And the mainstream media is going to do their level best to try and smooth over everything that happened in the past, by basically highlighting, oh, nasty Trump, Trump lied, oh, how evil Trump is by saying all this while this horror things are happening. Well, we all knew Trump saw this coming a mile away. But then again, anybody who's been paying attention to California politics and paying attention to environmental politics could have told you that this was going to happen someday with the mismanage of California's forests. So thank you all very much for joining me today. Hit that like button, hit the notification button for when I do it again. Do this again. Please hit those comments. Thank you all for the comments. I do like the comments, the negatives and the positive. I try to answer as many as I possibly can. Hit that subscription button. As I said, that's really nice. I'd like to be at 500 by the end of January, so please hit that subscribe button. And again, thank you all very much for joining me today. Later.